Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. We start our class. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursaleen. Sayyidina wa habibina wa shafi'ina wa nuri qulubina wa qurrati a'yunina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa barik wa salim. Nawaitu ta'alluma wa ta'alim wa tadhakkura wa tazkir wa nafa' wal intifa' wal ifada wal istifada والحث على التمسك بكتاب الله وسنة رسوله صلى الله عليه وآله وصحبه وسلم ودعاء إلى الهدى ودلالة على الخير ابتغاء وجه الله ومرضاته وقربه ثوابه سبحانه وتعالى مع لطف وعافية برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم إنا نسألك العلم لدني ومشرب صافي الهني وهاب يا غني. اللهم إنا نسألك العلم لدني ومشرب صافي الهني يا وهاب يا غني. اللهم إنا نسألك العلم لدني ومشرب صافي الهني يا وهاب يا غني. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين آمين. Alhamdulillah. Okay, now we're continuing with our zakat, right? So the last lesson we were going through the zakat of money, correct? Let me just read through right from the book. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So we have the zakat upon the wealth upon which zakat is compulsory on the 6 types: livestock, and then second one is money, that is crops, right? So okay, have I read through all of these things? No, I've not. Let me just read through them. Okay, Bismillah. Am I on the correct book? Yeah, I am. This is Safinah Najah kan? Okay. Sekali I was worried that I was on Muqaddimah. Okay, now. Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Okay, zakat is of 6 types. Zakat is wajib on every Muslim male, female, adult or child who has possessed a zakat payable amount for 1 lunar year. Okay. Zakat is so usually there's a haul that is to it, but there are some zakats whereby you don't actually require a haul. Haul meaning 1 lunar year. Right? Zakat on livestock is to camels, cattle, sheep, and goats. Zakat is wajib when one has owned a zakat payable number of livestock for 1 lunar year. We've gone through all of this previously, and has been grazing them in unowned open range pasturage for the entire year. Right? There is no zakat on cattle that were fed fodder from the wealth of the owner or grain, only even if they could have been grazed otherwise, right? It's otherwise been grazed. Went through that. And number 3, with regards to money, zakat is wajib for anyone who has possessed the zakat payable amount of gold or silver in 1 lunar year. Nisab, the minimum that necessitates zakat for gold is 20 mithqals, 84.8 grams, which is 2.5% is due. And for silver is to 200 dirhams, of which 2.5% is due. While there is a considerable difference in the value of gold and silver, zakat minimum, the minimum for monetary currency should correspond to that of silver, since it is more beneficial for the poor. Right? So with regards to our money, do we compare it to gold or to silver? Right, the scholars say compare it to silver because that will bring the nisab lower. Right, that will bring the nisab lower. So for us, we just go by whatever Muiz says lah. Go to the Muiz website and see how much the nisab. Right, because money is in comparison to gold and silver. Right, so you're in dollars, right? In dollars, what do you compare it to, right? So you have a choice actually to compare it to gold or to compare it to silver, right? And 20 miscals of gold is actually much more expensive than 200 dirhams in monetary value, right? It's actually much more expensive. But Allahu Alam, we can compare to silver. So just take whatever the nisab that is placed on the Muiz website. The zakat for crops. So last week we mentioned about this, right? About money. Okay, so basically, I'll read through this entire thing first, right? And then I'm gonna go and give case examples with regards to zakat with money and how to calculate money before we go on into about zakat of crops. So zakat for crops is only on staple types that people cultivate. Important, eh? Staple types people cultivate, dry and store, such as, so basically crops that can tahan. Crops that can withstand time, Right, so it can be stored, it can be dried, and it can be stored. Right, for the case of wheat, barley, millet, and rice, and so on. Okay, for the case of uh, wheat, barley, millet, and rice, there is no zakat on fruit except for raw dates and grapes. Okay, no zakat on fruits except for raw dates and grapes. There is no zakat on vegetables, nor is there zakat on seasonings such as cumin and coriander, because first and foremost, vegetables are perishable. Right, they are perishable. So if they are perishable, there's no zakat. Okay. If they are not staple food, right? So seasonings are not staple food; they are seasonings. Right? There's no zakat. Right? So it has to be a staple food. Right? And for fruits, it is only fruits that can be preserved. In this case, only raw dates and grapes preserved in the form of raisins. All right, so we don't count all other forms of dried fruits. Like, so like dried apricot or dried whatever, they can't last the year. They can't last the year. Raisins can. Raisins can last the year. Dates can last the year. Right, so it has to be specifically these two fruits only, dates and grapes. All right, no other fruit. Okay, and then going further down, since the aim in using them is in preparation of food and not nourishment, that's for condiments, right? For seasonings. Right? The minimum quantity on the zakat is on payable for crops is this amount of kilograms of net dried weight, free of has or chef. I will explain all of this in a while. I'm just going to read through first. Right, has or chefs. Let me just put it in the yellow. The zakat for crops have been watered without effort. Okay, so watered without effort, like for example, rain and so on, is 10%. That is why they call mu'asharat. Mu'asharat meaning from ashara, 10%. Right, however, if they have been watered with effort, for example, irrigation, then the zakat is 5%. And 5% of the yield, 5% of the yield or the harvest is not after a year, right? It's not a year of holding the crops, right? It's at the point of harvest, right? Then the zakat at the point of harvest. One is obligated. I'll go through this entire thing in a while. Let me just read through the entire text first. One is obligated to pay zakat as soon as one processes the zakat payable amount of grain, or when the ripeness of the wholesome zakat payable amount of dates or grapes is apparent. Otherwise, one is not obligated. Right. So right, so you can only pay zakat. Right, someone is only meant to pay zakat if they can hold the grain, right, or the ripeness of the wholesome zakat payable amount is apparent. Right, then it is obligated on them zakat. Right. So for example, they're looking at their trees, correct? Right, and they see that, and the thing about it is that the zakat, right, is when it is a dried wheat. The kilogram is a dried wheat of the dates and the dates and the and the grapes. It means in its the dates that we eat in Singapore, those are dried dates. They're not fresh dates. Right? Fresh dates have the texture of an apple. Have you ever eaten fresh dates? They're crunchy. Right? They're crunchy, they collect. Like collect, you say collect. Like when you eat them, right, there's a taste to them. They're not very sweet. Right? These are fresh dates. They're apples. They're apples. The ones that we eat, the soft ones that we eat in Singapore, is are dried dates, right? So their mass decreases significantly from being fresh to being dried, of course, because the water is removed, right? So a person, like for example, like a farmer, right, has dried dates and has date palms, and can see the dates in the date palms. If let's say he wants to sell the fresh dates, right? He's unable to weigh the mass of the dates if they were to be dried. But he doesn't want to wait for them to dry up because he wants to sell them fresh. You see that? It's like with the grapes. Right? You want to sell fresh grapes, or you allow the grapes to dry up and become raisins. Then you sell the raisins. Right? So for such a person, now how is he going to pay zakat if he wants to sell the fruits fresh instead of selling the fruits dried? And so such a person, he needs to call someone who is able to tell that amount of grapes is how much weight. Someone of experience. I just by looking can tell what is the weight of this amount of dates that are fresh If they were dried up, what is the weight? I'll go into it in a while, inshallah. It's all the zakat of farmers. So if you're not a farmer, you just learn it lah. Just learn. Right, and then maybe one day you own some grapes and enough grapes to give zakat if you want to own grapes. But I'll go into that inshallah in a while. Alright. And zakat on trade groups is wajib. And let's go on to trade groups. So number 4, wealth acquired from businesses in which what 2.5% is of the value of the commodity should be discharged. Right? 2.5% should be given out. Number 5, zakat on trade goods is wajib for anyone who, number 1, has possessed trade goods for a year. Right? Number 2, whose value of the zakat year end equals or exceeds the zakat minimum of gold and silver, that the trade goods have been acquired through a transaction or received as a gift given in for something else, such as an article rented from someone in order to rent them out to others as a profit, or land rented from someone in order to rent it out to others as a profit. And number 4, that at the time of acquisition, the owner intend to use the goods for trade. So this is all under zakat of trade. I will go through it in a while. Okay, the whole thing doesn't make sense to you. It's okay. I will go through them in a while. I'm just gonna read through. Then after that, we have treasure troves and mines. So treasure troves is basically to find buried treasure. Right, there is zakat on buried treasure if you find buried treasure. And then mines, to find gold and silver where Allah created them. Right, to find gold and silver mines. Right, so for treasure troves, right, an immediate zakat. Right, so if someone were to find treasure, immediately they must give out 20%, 1/5 of the treasure to zakat. If you dig here and there, and you find like a whole load of treasure, or gold and silver, right? And it's all basically gold and silver treasure. We don't care about any other metals. I only care about gold and silver. Right? So you found like a whole load of like entire chest of gold and silver treasure, and it has to be on condition. So for example, you say an immediate zakat, right? 20%. is due when one finds a treasure trove that is buried in pre-Islamic time. Again, on the condition it has to be pre-Islamic treasure. So which means you need to be able to identify that the treasure was buried before pre-Islamic, meaning before the time of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. This is quite long ago lah. Right? So if you can find treasure like from, before 1,400 years ago, like, so you can find treasure like from like ancient China kind of treasure, or like ancient India, or like somewhere in Asia you found treasure of some king that lived before Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. If you found lah somehow or other, okay, you found this treasure from ancient times, or by non-Muslims, ancient or modern, if it amounts to the zakat minimum, right? So first and foremost, the treasure must amount to the nisab. Right? It must exceed nisab. So like if you at the beach you found some gold on the floor, that's not treasure lah. And probably it belongs to somebody who just dropped it. Right? So it's not, no, it's under luqata. Right? Luqata will be lost and found. And this entire hukum of lost and found. And this is not treasure. Right? Treasure is basically you actually dug and you found like someone kept treasure there. So if it belongs or is from land that is not owned, right? So if the land has to be not owned, so it has to amount to the zakat minimum, the nisab. It must amount to the nisab, right? And the land is not owned, because if the land is owned, then the treasure belongs to the owner of the land. The treasure belongs to the owner of the land, right? And mashallah, people of the past, there was once a story whereby there was a judge, who was placed over a town. And this town, they acted only on the Sharia, on the Quran and Sunnah. So this judge, after a full year, there was not a single case brought forward to him, because everybody in the town was on Quran and Sunnah. Right? So they never had any clashes, because everybody followed Quran and Sunnah. Until one day, finally, there were two people who came up to the judge and said that we have a dispute. So just say, finally, after 1 year of me being here feeling useless, right, finally someone comes up to me and asks me to judge between them. What's your problem? And they said that, okay, this guy said, well, I bought land from this person. Right, over here on my with me, I bought land from him. And after I finished paying for the land, right, and it's my land, one day I was plowing the land and I found a chest of treasure in my land. This treasure doesn't belong to me. When I bought the land, I just bought the land. I didn't buy what was in the land, I bought what is on the land. So I told the guy I found a treasure. And the guy said it's not his treasure either. Right? He bought the land from the one before him. And he only bought what was on the land and not what was in the land. Right? So now neither of them want to take the treasure. The taqwa, mashallah. The taqwa is so strong. They don't want to take the treasure. They said it's not our treasure. It's not mine. And the other guy said not mine also. Then they what and so the dispute is who must take the treasure? Who's responsible over the treasure? Neither of them wanted the treasure. Mashallah. There was the kind of dispute, eh? And so eventually the treasure was placed in the Baitul Mal. Right, placed in the property of the Muslims altogether. Okay, now. So if the treasure was found in own land, it belongs to the owner of the land. Right? It should belong to the owner of the land. If it's found in a masjid or a street, or if it's buried in Islamic times, it is considered as a lost and found article. Right? And it will go into the laws of lost and found. If you can't find the owner of it, then it goes into Baitul Mal. It goes into the house of wealth for the Muslims, right, to use. Okay, a zakat of 2.5% is immediately due on the zakat minimum or more of gold and silver. Okay, so that is for treasure troves. For mines, and for those who mine gold and silver. So if someone found, entire a place whereby there is gold and silver in there naturally, like in Australia, in parts of America, they have places whereby there are gold and silver mines. So if you stumble upon a cave whereby there's like huge deposits of gold in that cave, right? You pay the zakat immediately, but you pay 2.5%. You don't actually pay, you pay only 2.5% immediately due, right? On condition the zakat is the zakat minimum or more of gold and silver. It means the nisab. So you don't include anything else such as iron, lead, crystal, emerald, and others. There is no zakat. So it's only gold and silver that has zakat. It is extracted from the mine located on land permissible for the miner to work or owned by him. Right? So that the mine belongs to him. Right? Or the mine is on a land that belongs to him. That this amount of ore, right, of gold and silver ore has been gathered by working at the site one time or several times uninterrupted by abandoning or neglecting the project. Zakat is only paid after the ore is refined into metal. Right? So the ore that is extracted from the mine, it has to be refined into pure gold or pure silver, and then you weigh how much that is, and then 2.5% is given out if it exceeds the amount. Okay? All right. Okay. With regards to, I'm just going to be very, just very, very clear. With regards to mines, treasure troves, livestock, crops and livestock, right? I will just teach it, but will not go into mas'ala. Means I won't go into specific situations, specific cases, because I don't think anybody here is directly involved in these things. Alright, so we'll learn it theoretically, but I will not go into the mas'ala. I will not go into specific situations. With regards to money, and businesses. Okay, with regards to money and businesses, I will go into the mas'ala, into the situations. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do right here now is with the money. Allahumma salli Muhammad. Right. Where does the 80% go? The final keeps. Yeah, you keep it. If you find treasure, you get to keep 80%. Of course, non-Muslims will take the entire thing. Islam makes us give 1/5. 1/5 goes to zakat. It's not your treasure. You found it. Right? But you get to keep 80% because you found it. right? You found a treasure. If you don't know when treasure was buried, you can do carbon dating. No, I'm just kidding. But you can basically you can look at the coins and see. You can basically try and figure out like when this treasure was buried. You can try and figure out using any modern day technology or just by the coins. Can see like can tell from which era they were buried. If you can lah. I mean, if you ever come across, which I don't know, Allahu Alam, do people search for treasure? You're trying to look for treasure. I know that Singapore has any treasure. Inshallah. Okay. About money. All right. So now I'm gonna do the entire thing about money. Right. So with money, what is the money? Okay, zakat on money. Okay, and alhamdulillah, in Singapore, the MUIS website, they have like an entire portal where you can just put in all your property, and then they will just calculate zakat for you, right? So that is, you don't have to do it yourself physically. So zakat on money, right? The first thing, this is from last week's revision, right? Nisab. Okay, so look for the nisab. What's the nisab of the zakat, right? And then right, so I would say know the nisab, know the nisab, right? And you can say like a range. Like when the nisab changes, right? So the range of nisab, and from how much to how much, know the nisab. Okay. Secondly, monitor the bank account. Okay, monitor your bank account. Okay. And note when it goes above the nisab. Okay, right. Okay. I'm gonna put one more thing in between, number 2. Right. Calculate any gold or silver kept in possession. Not just gold, silver, or cash kept in possession that is not in the bank. Right, so you don't miss out this. This is part of your money. Right, it's part of your money. Kept in possession. Possession meaning as treasure or wealth. Okay, so last week we discussed in detail that the gold and silver that you are continuously using, or gold and silver kept as decorative items, they are not subject to zakat, because they are not treasure. You're not keeping them for treasure, but just keeping them because decorative item. Right? So, but for example, you have a gold bangle, or you have like gold earrings. That you're keeping it not for the wealth of it, but you're keeping it for as jewelry, that you wear, every now and then. All right. So as treasure or wealth, right, that is not in the bank account. So calculate the value, and this will have to be included with the money in your bank. Right, so calculate the value of any gold or silver kept in possession, right, that is not in the bank account. I monitor the bank account and note when it goes above the nisab, right? Include in this value, in this amount, the value of your of number 2, right? Of number 2. Okay, that's number 3. Okay, so because the whole thing is lumped together as money. The whole thing is your money lumped together as money. Okay, all right. Okay, with the bank account, note that when it goes above the nisab, including this amount, the value of number 2. Okay. All right. And then number 4, right, the moment when it goes above the nisab, when all together, when the overall amounts, you see, when the overall, I'm giving you all like step by step how to calculate your zakat. When the overall amount goes above the nisab, right, that is when your year begins. Okay, the haul that's when the year begins. Okay, right, whenever, if the amount goes below the nisab at any point in the year, the year is see the year is I say you said not counted, right? The obviously the time before that will be nullified, will be null. Okay, right? So for example, like in Muharram, so Muharram you saw you went above nisab. Muharram above nisab. I'm going to give charts in a while, but I'm just going to do it verbally right now. Muharram above nisab, Safar, Rabiul Awal, Rabiul Akhir. Okay, Rabiul Akhir you did some spending. You went below nisab. All these 4 months, none, nothing. Okay, nothing. And then you begin to count again when it goes above nisab again. Get it? Alright? So basically, it has to be maintained above nisab for 12 months without it dipping. The moment it dips, it's ta'nafa. In Arabic, it will say null. Null. Okay, the moment it dips, null. Alright? So even if like for 11 months, it was above the nisab. Before the 12th month came in, you had a huge expenditure. You went for a holiday. And then it dipped below the nisab, dah. There is no zakat on you. Okay? So it has to be maintained above the nisab the entire 12 months. Alright. The before that was null. Right? So when it goes above again, right, the year is restarted. The year counting is restarted. Okay? Right? Number 5, right? If a full year passes, right, with your savings the entire time above nisab, then look at the minimum amount through the year and give 2.5% of that in zakat. Okay, look at the minimum amount throughout the year and give 2.5% of that in zakat. All right. So if the new year comes in and you're already above nisab, so high chances you're quite way above nisab. So it could be that you're going to increase more and more and more and more. Okay, let me give you an example. Okay, so once you're all done with that example, okay, okay, example. Right. So can I clear this? Can I just screenshot and I can clear it? Okay. Can I? Okay, I'm gonna clear. Right. So an example, for example, I'm gonna say in year 2022. All right. Not 22. We're gonna go by Islamic calendar. So 1443, for example. Okay. Right. So Muharram. Right. Your so for year 143, so you check nisab. This will be a very easy amount. Nisab for probably was around 6,000. Okay, SGD. Okay. So Muharram you saw in your bank 2,000. No issue. Right, Muharram, Safar. Safar you saw in your bank. Maybe you save some money, became 5,000. Okay, Rabiul Awal. Right, the bank became 7,000. Okay, now you see it went above the nisab. To be specific, look at what date. If you can see what date it was, it went above the nisab, then you calculate from that date. But if you can't see that, for example, for all of us, we get our monthly payment. Our monthly what do you call it, gaji, our monthly salary, right? So it's not possible for us to like, it does not climb steadily. Like it's just like on the first of every month you get like a lump sum, right, into your bank account from your company, right, for example. All right, so Rabiul Awal 2,000 came into your bank account, right? So it is now 7,000, right, above the nisab. Okay, so you say I count from here. Alright, start the year. Okay, start the zakat year. Alright. Okay. So Rabiul Awal, Rabiul Thani, right? You did some expenditure, it was 6500, still above, right? Still above. And then Jumada Awal or Ula, right? Ula, right? You saw it went up again 9,000, right? And then Jumada Sanya, right? It came to 10,000, for example, right? And then Rajab, right? Rajab, it went down back to 8,000. Rajab, Shaban, right? Maybe 8,500. Ramadan, right? It went down to 7,000. And then Ramadan, Zulqa'dah. Okay, Zulqa'dah, maybe it hit 6,200, for example. Then Zulhijjah, I mean Shawwal. Okay, Shawwal law expenditure. Okay, Shawwal is higher. So Shawwal maybe hit maybe 6,500 again, then 6,200, then Zulhijjah, and it went maybe it went to 7,000 or something like that, right? And then Muharram again. Okay, so you have finished what you have gone through the year, but you actually not gone through the year yet, because you actually begin your zakat year at Rabiul Awal. So this Muharram is not counted, it's continuous. You continue, right? So maybe 7,500. You've not finished your year, your year began here at Rabiul Awal. Did not begin at Muharram, right? Then Muharram, then Safa, right? So maybe you have 5,000 again. Okay, if Safa hit 5,000, then Rabiul Awal, right? It went up to 7 or 8,000. Okay, all right. You look at your entire year. This is a problem here, right? So look at the whole thing. The entire time from Rabiul Awal, it was maintained above Nisab, above Nisab, above Nisab, above Nisab. Safar, there was a big decrease. So Safar, you actually went below Nisab, which means the zakat year cancel. Zakat year cancel. See that? You did not make it a full year above Nisab. There was 1 month it dipped below Nisab. Dah khalas. There's no zakat. No zakat No zakat. Done. Alright? Then zakat restarts here. Every Rabiul Awal restart the zakat year. Okay? So then zakat restarted. Zakat year restarted. So that means the previous year there was no zakat for you. Okay, if let's say this did not happen. Okay, maybe in Safar, I've changed 7,000. Okay? 7,000. So you came above the Nisab at Rabiul Awal. Correct? You look through your zakat year. Okay, you see minimum amount through the year was Zulqa'dah. See that? The whole year there was no restart of the zakat year. The zakat year did not restart. Right? It did not restart because it was kept above the nisab through the year. But there was a minimum. There was right here, 6,200. Okay, so which means when I reach Rabiul Awal, right? I have finished zakat year, right? And pay 2.5% of the minimum savings. What's my minimum savings? 6,200. 6,200. Right? Why my minimum savings? Because that is what was maintained through the year. That means in every month I had a minimum of 6,200. See that? Every month I had a minimum of 6,200. Can you see? Right? So I pay a zakat on this. Because did I have this amount at Rabiul Awal? Yes. Was the amount present in Jamul Thani? Yes. Was this amount present at Jamul Ula? Yes. Was this amount present at Jamul Thaniya? Yes. This amount was present throughout the year. You see that? Whereas I can't say that the 7,000 was present throughout the year, because 500 went away when I was in Rabiul Thani. Do you see that? The 7,000 did not maintain itself throughout the year. I didn't have it in my hands throughout the year. It dipped, it went up, then it came down, then it came up. So the only one that was maintained through the year is 6,200. And so I pay zakat on that. 6,200. So now I begin a new year, my Rabiul Awal, 8,000. Okay, I began the year with 8,000. So I finished the first zakat year. So then I go through another year of zakat. Right. So if my money keeps increasing, right, I just look through the year and see what was the minimum amount in the year and I pay zakat on that. Okay. Clear? Right, inshallah clear. Okay. Any questions on that? Okay. If you are clear about that, I want to actually let's stop. Okay, I actually want to go through. Okay, let me see the questions. Can we pay zakat of years that we have to miss? You must pay zakat on years that you have missed. You must. Wajib. If you went through years whereby you had savings and you failed to pay zakat, this is dain. It is utang. It is debt. Like debt on your neck. On the day of judgment, you have to answer for it. Okay, so to use the nisab of that period, yes, you have to go back to that period. So in Mui's website, you can actually search for a good 50 years ago nisab. You can actually search for it, and you can search by the month. I can actually search. So like I had a student, right, who she never knew she had to pay zakat of wealth. She always assumed that zakat was zakat fitrah that happens after Ramadan. And her father would pay for her anyway. So she actually never paid zakat of wealth and she was working. Right. So she just assumed that zakat was like what her father pays at the end of Ramadan, the small amount, $10, $12, around the kind of zakat. Right. So what she did was that she was working and she was earning like 4,000 a month. And she usually use the money for anything at all. So every month the 4,000 comes to her bank account and says there the most she would use is about 500 in the month because she was being supported by her father. Right. So all of her cash goes straight to her. All of her cash goes straight to her. And then so in a year she could very well earn 3 times 12 months, which is $36,000 in a year. She could easily earn that in a year because she had no expenses. She was being supported. All of her gaji goes to her. All of her salary goes to her. Year after year, her money just increased, right, into 100,000 in her bank. Right, it's increased all the way. And then she got married, right? She has a load of cash in a bank, and then she used that money to buy a house with her husband. They bought a house. Now all the money is used up in buying the house. So when she was learning zakat with me, she said that, when I was younger, before I got married, I would go year after year with my bank account definitely above nisab. Definitely above nisab. But now, my bank account is dry. I just spent all the money on my house. So now what? So I calculated for her zakat. Right? For the part, I think there was about 5 years of her working before she got married. Like 5 years of zakat, 5 years worth of zakat. So I said, can you give me your bank account details? Right? I need to do the calculations for you. She gave me all her past 5 years punya bank account records. I searched the movie's website for the nisab, everything. I calculated everything out for her. Then I say, okay, your zakat all together comes up to be about 6,000. You owe about $6,000 of zakat. I said, but I have no money. And she stopped working. At that point, she stopped working. She's a housewife. No money. No money to her name. All the money spent on the house. Right? Now what? Right? Because she was supposed to have paid the zakat in those years when she was saving up the money. But she didn't know. Right? So I said to her, the zakat is still wajib on you. It's still wajib. You have to figure out a way. Right? So either you get your husband to pay you back. Right? Whatever the money was spent on the house, he pays you back. Right? And then use that money to pay your zakat. Right? Or you need to go and work. You have debts. You utang zakat. You have debts on your zakat. You have to find a way to earn the money. Right? So if let's say she had bought something, let's say for example, if that amount, right, she used to go like and spend instead of buying a house, she spent it, for example, on Hajj or whatsoever. Her zakat is still on her neck. She has to pay zakat. Right? So somehow or other she needs to earn money. And she needs to pay off the zakat. because she owed the money. So even though the money was all used up, she owes the money, has to pay zakat, right? So if you have gone through years of your life not paying zakat, then go and calculate. Go and calculate and then go and pay it off. You have to. There's no way around it. It is on your neck on the day of judgment. It's scary, eh? It's on your neck on the day of judgment. Go and pay off your zakat. Okay? Zakat is wajib in Islam. Now, so I hope that is clear. Next week I will go into this just very, very quickly, right, about the crops, right? And then I will spend some time on businesses. Right, and the zakat to do with businesses. Okay, barakallahu fikum. We'll end here for today. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. الفاتحة أن الله يرزقنا المنافع وعملا خاصا ويسعني مدر الهدى ويسر به قلب النبي محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وصحبه وسلم وإلى أرواح معلمنا مشايخنا والزابر حوفي علينا وإلى حضرة النبي محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم. الفاتحة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والعصر. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. والحمد لله رب العالمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. One question, Zakat. Um, I will answer the questions on zakat on business next week. Okay, inshallah. Right, someone asked about who earns from the business or worth of the inventory. I will answer next week, inshallah, for zakat on business. Assalamualaikum warahmatullah.